Salam, hörmətli həmkarlar, hər birinizi xoş gördük. Bugünkü web seminarımıza başlamaq istəyirik. Deməli, bugünkü web seminarımız UNEK-in Təhsil Texnologiyaları Tədqiqat Mərkəzinin birgə təşkilatçılığı ilə təşkil olunub. Mən moderatorumuzu təqdim etmək istəyirəm. Moderatorumuz Könül xanım Kərimova. Könül xanım Təhsil Texnologiyaları UNEK Tədqiqat Mərkəzinin rəhbəridir. Bugünkü mövzumuz yeni texnologiyalarla təhsilin transformasiyası adlanır. Məruzəçimiz isə Macarıstanın Szeged Universitetinin təhsil üzrə doktorantura mərkəzinin rəhbəri professor Göbner Molnardır. Buyurun Könül xanım, həm qonağımızdan da təqdim edin, bir daha ətraflı məlumat verə bilərsiniz. Mövzumuza keçid edelim.
Teşekkür ederim Rana Hanım. I would like to welcome everybody who joins us. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues and honored guests, welcome to our seminar, Transforming of Education with Emerging Technologies. It's my great pleasure to moderate today's important discussion. As someone deeply involved in the advancement of educational technologies, I have seen firsthand how rapidly our field is evolving. New digital tools that are driving platforms and innovative approaches are shaping how we teach, learn, and assess knowledge. These changes present not only opportunities but also important questions about access, equity, and the future skills our students will need. Today's event is an opportunity to explore these questions with one of the world's leading experts in educational technology and digital assessment. It's my distinct honor to introduce our speaker, Professor Jonchver Molnar. Professor Molnar is a full professor, the head of Institute of Education and the Doctor of School of Education at the University of Szeged in Hungary. She's creator of the internationally recognized EDIA system, a pioneering digital assessment platform used in many countries. Her leadership and research have helped shape how technology is integrated into educational practice across the globe. Today, Professor Molnar will share her insights on the transformation of education through technology and the vital role of digital assessment in this new landscape. I encourage all of you to listen actively, reflect critically, and join the conversation. Together, we can help shape a future in which educational technology benefits every learner. So now, please join me in welcoming Professor Jonchver Molnar. Thank you very much, Professor, for accepting our invitation and sharing your insight in this field.
Thank you. And now, can you see my slide?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I
thank
can.
You.
Yes,
First of all, thanks for the really kind invitation. I'm prepared a huge amount of topics, but still, if you cannot understand something, then please stop me and then let's talk about the issue. So I will start the presentation with a quotation from Kevin: if you cannot measure it, you cannot improve it. Nowadays, your smartphone offers workout and even nutrition programs if you decide to put on muscles or to lose weight after entering a few important parameters like height, weight, age, and gender, and of course your goal. As you do sport, your smartwatch continuously monitors your time, calories burned, pulse rate, heart rate. More accurate, personalized workout programs and nutrition programs are provided for you based on these data. What's in the background, and why not apply this approach in the field of education? So generally, what do you need to realize this in the field of education? So we need infrastructure, assessment, data, evaluation, and personalized feedback. So in this presentation, I'm going to focus on assessment, data, evaluation, and personalized feedback, and I skip the infrastructure part. About the importance of this field of technology-based assessment, it's real quick figure, which was edited by me based on Scopus when I started to prepare for this presentation a month ago. So I searched for the publication which are moving around technology-based assessment. And as you can see on the figure, the number of publication indexed in Scopus is still exponentially increasing. But what about the beginning? Technology-based testing goes back more than 100 years. So the first application or the first researcher who can we mention at this point is Sidney Pressley, who developed an automatic testing machine. And he also applied this machine at the university to score students' test achievement. So a few years later, the first attempt to use a test scoring machine, it was in 1935, it was an IBM model, and it was appropriate for testing millions of Americans in a type of objective test. And 70s and 80s, when the personal computers were launched, the famous computers and assisted language learning platform was also introduced, and this new computer system made language testing possible. But the introduction of World Wide Web in the 90s brought about a massive change in many sectors, as well as in the research activity regarding education, and in this field, in the field of technology-based assessment as well. The applicability of a broad range of technologies, from the most common to the cutting edge technologies, were in the focus around the millennium. So it means that infrastructure meant a lot. So researchers had to spend a huge amount of money on infrastructure. This was the time point when even the large-scale international assessment, like for example PISA, have been launched, first planned, and launched. And then let's take a broad overview about its development, how technology-based developed in the last 35 years. So first generation testing, when automated administration and the scoring of conventional tests were applied. So it means the main focus was how to administer conventional test item by computers with the advantages of automated scoring. So in this time point, we cannot talk about multimedia items, we cannot talk about interactive items. The main aim was to realize paper pencil testing on technology. And from this time, I would highlight 3 studies which was administered by us, and I would share the main results of these studies. So the focus was automated scoring, and in the focus was the comparison of paper pencil and computer-based test results, and the comparison of face-to-face and computer-based testing. What have we learned? So the first study focused on first and second grade students, and the second study on 5th grade students. In the first study, inductive reasoning items have been applied. So it means that students received inductive reasoning items. Inductive reasoning is one of the most important thinking skills if we are talking about learning and learning processes. And students received the same items on a paper pencil format and the same items in a computerized environment. In the second study, which went for 5th graders, we applied again inductive reasoning items and in in computerized and in a face-to-face format. In computerized environment, students were able to take a look on the progress bar, which displayed where they are in the test, and they also had a back and a next button for navigating in the test. So what about the reliabilities? In both studies, the reliabilities were really nice, but I would raise your attention on the reliability in the second study, where we have applied number and students had to count, then the reliability dropped. In all the other cases, it were almost the same. But I must remind you that this study was running around the millennium, so 25 years ago. And then let's see, what have we learned based about the items, how the items behaved in computerized and in paper pencil format. It strongly depends on the item format, how they behaved in computerized or paper pencil format. So it meant that we cannot write a single equation or a single model that if you use the same item on paper pencil format or computerized format, then it will behave that way or that way. So it strongly depends on the item format. And if in the second study, if we compare the item difficulties, so it means if the items behaved almost the same way, so the difficulty indexes didn't differ significantly, then the items were presented in this green line. If the behavior differed significantly, then outside the green line. As you could see, there are some items where we seen some not misbehavior, but different behavior. Typically, these items were number series items and open-ended questions. Let's see briefly about the achievement differences. We have indicated achievement differences in all of the cases. So it meant that students behave differently in a paper pencil and computerized format, even using the same items. And if we go further and then we compare these achievement differences and students level, then we can see then that a huge amount of students behave the same way. So it means that their achievement didn't differ significantly, whether the test was administered on paper or in a computerized format. But we can see some students, so about 14% of the students whose behavior was different in computerized or in a paper pencil format. What was the reason for this? So we monitored the number of missing responses. And as you can see, we faced the issue, which was later even confirmed, that students had less missing items if the test was administered in a computer-based format. And the third study compared not paper pencil and computer-based assessment, but face-to-face and computer-based assessment. It's very important if we want to apply computer-based assessment by kindergarten students or by first graders, because those assessments run until now mostly in face-to-face environment. So in this study, students received relational reasoning task. They get the task on a paper in a face-to-face environment, and we applied an instruction. The instruction read out the instruction and then also marked students' answer on a sheet of paper. In a computerized environment, students received the task.
Click on the bird which is higher than the others.
And they could listen to the instruction by the headphone, and they had to indicate the answer via the mouse, or if they've used tablet, then with clicking with the tablet. So it's a picture from the assessment. And this the other test, which was administered, it was a speech sound discrimination test, contained 60 items. This is an example of the test.
This is a ship. This is a sheep. Now I will only say one of the two words. Click on the picture for the word I say. Ship.
And this example clearly visualized the advantage of computerized and computer-based assessment, even by first grade or kindergarten students. Because normally in face-to-face assessment, we use, as I mentioned already, instructors, so it means the teachers or humans who read out the instruction. But in this case, all of the kids receive the same instruction, receive the same sounds, the same picture, and even the instructor's behavior couldn't influence their achievement. So it also meant that the reliability of the test increased in all of the cases. So it means that tests which were administered in a computerized environment for first graders and kindergarten students proved to be more reliable than we apply the same test in a face-to-face assessment format. So let's see about students' achievement. So the majority of the students achieved the same way in a computerized and face-to-face environment. But what about those students whose achievement proved to be significantly lower or significantly higher in a computerized environment than in a face-to-face environment? So we went further and monitored those students. So our first hypothesis was that probably these students had some issues with the computer. But then when we compared the same students' achievement, which was based on paper pencil computer-based environment, then we could exclude this hypothesis because they behaved the same way in paper pencil and computerized format. So it meant that the differences were not caused because of that technology knowledge and computer usage. It was because of the instructor, because of the subjective evaluation of the instructors. Then next step, we went further and we take a look at measurement invariance. It means whether we have measured the same construct on a face-to-face environment and a computerized environment. As you can see, and as the reliability is also indicated, that the test proved to be more reliable, and we also measured a bit different construct in the field of relational reasoning and all the other subtests. So briefly, I will go through really quickly about these slides, which shows you the essence of a study where we monitored students, first graders, math usage knowledge. At that time, it was very important because, as you know, kids are raised with mobile phones and tablets, but these are using touch screens. But most, and the majority of the schools, at least in Hungary, have desktop computers or laptops, which doesn't have touch screen. So students had to learn how to use the keyboard and how to use the mouse. So we first had to monitor whether students are able to use the mouse and the keyboard and how quickly can they use the mouse and the keyboard at that level that they are able to solve the test without the influential factor of their technological skills. So in this study, students had to click on pictures with different size and numbers. They had to navigate form elements, checkboxes, radio buttons, or they had to do drag and drop. And on the other half of the test, they had to use the keyboard by entering some numbers or letters in the test. So the next slides show an example.
Click on them.
So they were game-based tasks. Students really enjoyed to solve these type of tests. And in this task, they had to click on a significantly small element,
Click on the button on the radio.
just on a radio button. So there is a significant difference between the two tests because on the first task they had to click on big elements and many big elements. In this task, they had to click on a really small element and just one single element. And this proved to be one of the hardest tasks in the test.
Help Twinkle Bows finish decorating the Christmas tree. Drag the balls to the tree so that all the white spaces are colored.
Because in this task, they had to drag really small element to small spaces. And this meant the largest challenge for our first graders and kindergarten students. But then, as we have learned, as you can see on this item person map, what kind of task can we apply when we develop items for first graders or kindergarten students? You can freely use items where students had to click on big elements, even on many big pictures, many big elements. You can even use tasks where students have to click on small element or many small elements. You can even apply tasks where students have to type numbers or letters, but not using combinations. The difficulty starts when they have to connect many small elements, or if they have to apply drag and drop by really small elements, dragging small elements to small elements. Otherwise, you can apply everything, and the students are really smart in this regard. Okay, so I jump this part because it's going about time limit. So if it's going about first graders or kindergarten students, then it's suggested avoiding time limit by the task because it strongly frustrates kids and their achievement drops significantly. And use big elements, as I mentioned already. Yes, and this is about their learning effect. So it means that they are really brave and they learn really quickly how to use these operations on the computer. So to sum up, computer-based assessment is even applicable by first graders. What about the suggestions? Please don't use time limit. Click on big pictures, clicking on 1, 2 small elements, using drag and drop with big 1, 2 big elements, and use typing 1, 2 characters, not more. If you can keep these rules, then your test won't be, and test results won't be influenced by students' technological skills. So technology-based assessment is applicable in educational context, and we also have published some papers regarding these issues. Now let's go further with the second generation test. And in this next stage of development, technology was used beyond provided automated feedback to change item formats and replicate complex real-life situations using authentic tasks, interactions, dynamism, virtual worlds, collaboration, second and third generation computer-based tests to measure even 21st century skills. Thus, the use of technology has strongly improved the efficiency of testing procedure. So it accelerated the data collection, supports real-time automatic scoring, speed up data processing, allows immediate feedback, and revolutionizes the whole process of assessment, including innovative task presentations. No, and by the end of this decade, so in the 2010s, it was no longer a debate, and computer-based testing became a mainstream over traditional testing. As you can see in the PISA assessment too, nowadays computer-based assessment is the default administration process in the PISA, and not paper pencil testing anymore. From this second generation testing, I would highlight the importance of adaptive testing, and I would introduce you what does it mean, and also I would highlight the importance of the replication on complex real-life situations. And as I mentioned already, large-scale international assessment provided a huge booster in these developments. So what does it mean, adaptive testing? Adaptive testing means if the difficulty level of the test fits dynamically to the ability level of the students. So it can even run item level, or we can even talk about multi-stage testing where the difficulty level fits the student's ability level on subtest level. How can we imagine this? So imagine you have a student, but you have no idea about the reading skill of this students. This is the real person parameter, and you want to learn about this. You want to figure out what this skill level is. So first, the system administers students an item with an average difficulty level, and the students manage to solve this item, so the system administers the students a harder item. Again, the students manage to solve it, then the system administers again a harder item, and it goes through the students fail on this item, and then the system starts to administer them an easier item. And through this process, using 1/3 of the items as used in a fixed test where students receive the same test, we can figure out students' ability level. Or if we have the same amount of time, then we will work with significantly less measurement error, and our achievement, our result will be more precise. Why is it good, and why did it suggested to use adaptive testing? Because age does not determine skills and abilities. What does it mean? If we have 2 5-year-old kids or 2 5th graders, it does not mean that they have the same ability level in problem solving or mathematics or reading skills or in any other skills. So now I brought you 2 figures. The first figure visualizes students' problem solving skills from grade 3 to grade 9. If you can see a circle with a larger radius, it means that more students are at that grade level and at that ability level. This line, which is a logistic curve, indicates the average developmental speed of the students in the field of problem solving. As you can see, many even 3rd grader are highly skilled than the average 9th graders. And the differences between the students within the same grade are huge. So we can even say it in years. And so on the other hand, there are also 9th graders who doesn't even reach the developmental level of an average 3rd grader in the field of problem solving. But you can say me, okay, but we don't really explicitly develop problem solving skills and in the school. Let's see mathematics, because mathematics is truly developed in our education system. How the situation looks like in the field of mathematics, completely similarly. So it means students who are learning at the same grade are not the same. So there are huge differences between the students who are going to the same grade. And these differences can be even, say, in years. Another issue is that we don't really develop linearly. So the development is more logistically. And this paper was published just this year when I proved that in the field of inductive reasoning, which is really important thinking skills, the development can be described with the superposition of two logistic curves. And in this point, which is very important, if we can figure out when is this fast growing phase of the development, because if we would know it by each of the students and we provide the students in this time period an extra training, then we can manage the largest effect of our work, and the students develop in this period of time really the largest. This visualizes the development based on mother's educational level, and as you can see, it really has a strong influence on students' thinking skills. Okay, but let's go back to adaptive testing, and let's see some numbers. Why is it really important, and why is it worth to apply it? So imagine we have a test, and the test contains items which are average difficult. These items are on average difficulty level for the students, and the students are at the same ability level as the items difficulty level are. In this case, per definition, we can have 100% information out of the test. And we have 10 items in the test. What happens if we put more difficult items in the test and we have the same students? It means that the amount of information significantly drops from 100 to 45%, or we should administer not 10 but 23 items for the same kids to have the same information about the test, about the kids. And again, if we have a different sample but using our original test, then the amount of information significantly drops, or we have to apply significantly more items. It also means that adaptive testing is a really good approach if we are talking about assessment and if we are talking about measurement error and measurement precision. I've also raised the idea of cluster level adaptivity. This is multi-stage testing. It means that we don't have this item level adaptivity, but subtest level adaptivity. And why is it good? In this figure, I have compared the amount of test information in case of a fixed test, which is represented by this blue line, and in case of an adaptive test, which is represented by this orange line. As you can see, in all of the ability interval, the test information increased significantly in case of the adaptive test format. Again, the same question from different perspectives when we monitor the amount of standard error. And in case of the fixed test, you can see we have higher standard errors by lower and higher ability students. These results bear the basis of smart education. And then the second issue in this area is the replication of real-life situation, the application of second and third generation test. What does it mean? So it means that we go beyond paper, pen, pencil testing when we start to administer items and tests to the students, which is not a realizable pen-to-pencil format. So for example, in this case, students listen to the sound of the bird and they have to indicate which bird sound was listened to. And this is also a third generation test where students have to interact with the test. They have to figure out different information they have to learn during data collection. This is similar to when you, for example, buy a new washing machine or an air conditioner and you don't want to read the manual, but you start to play with the controller and then you figure out how the washing machine with the sliders and the buttons work, or how the air conditioner works. So it's really an important skill in our daily life, and to be able to measure it, we need third generation tasks. Or in this task, students received a task which is really similar when they browse the internet, and then they have to find different information and then answering questions. Okay, let's go further with the third generation testing, which focusing on continuous measurement, using calibrated measures to continuously and obtrusively estimate dynamic changes in students' achievement trajectories. So after 2010, the focus was more on this. And if I would highlight some of the keywords, then I would raise data mining, learning analytics, behavior tracking, automated feedback, and intelligence tutors. In this process, I would briefly introduce you a study where we have compared the effectiveness of face-to-face training with the effectiveness of a computer-based training. So we train the same skill, we have applied the same task, but the administering, the media was different, because earlier kids was trained always by the teacher, by humans, and we were really interesting if we administer the training in a computerized environment, then what happens? Can we develop student skills with the same efficacy? Then we applied teachers or humans by the trainings, or how the situation looks like. And in this study, students received a training task in 5 different scenarios. They had a face-to-face environment, and they also had a classroom-like experimental computer lab environment. And the second environment, we applied 5 different scenarios when they had to learn on their own during their training, when they received the training task in a mini-game form, when they received mini games and it was not allowed to talk to each other, or when we embedded the task in a Pac-Man-like frame game, or when they received an avatar-based feedback. So 5 different scenarios, and let's see how students behaved in these different scenarios. This is briefly about the sample of the study. This is about the test by which we assess the efficacy of this training program. This is a sample task screen from these Pac-Man-like games. And one additional information, which is also important: when students receive the training through the computer, we also monitor the facial expressions, because we wanted to assess their motivation and their attitude during the training, and go beyond the approach that we ask them. How do you felt yourself during the training, or we asked the teachers, because all these answers are more subjective. We wanted to have objective information about students' behavior. We have applied Ekman's 6 basic emotions and makeup points in this series. So it looked like this. So it means as students work with the task, we monitor their marker points, how they changed, and based on these marker points, we could say in which emotions they are with which percentage. So we have learned a lot during this research. It was a very, very interesting research. And briefly about the results. As we hypothesized, because we formed experimental group and the control group in this way, that they had no significant achievement differences on the pre-test. But what about the post-test? On the post-test, the control group also developed. It means that this time period is very important in students' life, and we are talking about their development regarding inductive reasoning. But if you take a look on the experimental group, the development was larger than 1 standard deviation. So it was really huge in face-to-face environment. And the development was the same in computerized environment too. So it means that we can freely apply computer-based training to train student skills and abilities if the trainings are well built, methodologically well built. Then the training works the same way as if the training were administered by humans. If we take a look on students' level results in the different scenarios, then you could see that it was almost the same which scenario have been applied, because students' development was almost the same. And it also indicates that this skill, inductive reasoning, can be really efficiently developed by first graders in computerized environment. And the training lasts just 6-8 weeks, and the development was really huge. What about the follow-up? So we were a bit sad about this, because as you can see on the figure, those students who participated in the experimental group stopped to develop, and they were waiting for the control group, because this is a skill which is not explicitly developed at school, and then so they stop. It means that we should also have applied a follow-up training program, and through this we could on the long run increase the ability level of these students. So to sum up, inductive reasoning can be significantly and effectively improved by the age of 6 and 8, even in a gaming environment, independent of the scenarios. And the training could be more effective for children with low skills. So it really works to use this possibility and to use the possibility of computer-based training and assessment by low skills kids, because we can develop them really effectively. So technology can support smart education and personalized learning. Okay, so just 2 publications from this field. And now let's go further with the behavior tracking, because these provided us also very, very important results. Why? In this study, students had to navigate in unknown environment. It's a problem-solving environment. Students couldn't use their previous knowledge. They had to figure out how the system works, and then they had to bring the system in moving. So first they had to explore the system. They had to detect the changes by the output variables. And in the second case, they had to visualize the detected causal relations in a model presented under the interactive system. And which is very important, then, so we had different studies which went for 6th graders. You can see the result of it. And this is the result of the log data analysis. If I would show you the result of the achievement data, then you could see many students whose achievement was in the middle, so on average level. But as you could see in this figure, we cannot see students whose achievement are in the middle. We can see non-performing explorers, we can see low-performing explorers, we can see low to intermediate performers on the easiest problems, but non-performers on the complex one. We can see rapid learners, which is one of the most interesting group. We can see students whose achievement was really high on the easiest problem, but low on the complex one. And we can see proficient explorers, but we cannot see average problem solvers. Similar result was obtained by the university level. So it means that no so-called intermediate strategy users were detected. And then if we want to draw conclusion from this log data analysis, then we can conclude that just using achievement data, we cannot gain all of the knowledge of the students. And technology-based assessment provides us many other possibilities. For example, in this case, you can even monitor the time students spend on the task. And as you can see on this figure, according to students' expertise, the time spent in the problem scenario differs significantly. So it also indicates that if we can convince students to spend more time with understanding the problem, then they can even improve their problem-solving skills. Or if we monitor the amount of interactions they had with the problem scenarios, we also had as a result that there are huge differences between students having different problem-solving expertise. So we could conclude that score does not necessarily cover final level of ability. It's a very important result. And also, if we want to develop problem-solving skills, then we have to teach students, then spending time on visualizing the problem and their ideas about the problem structure, it helps a lot in the problem-solving process, and it also supports the transition of the informations between the different phases of the problem-solving process. And then through this, we can even develop the problem-solving skills. And if we don't have a computer-based assessment, then we couldn't have this research result too. So technology-based assessment really plays a very important role when we are learning about the different learning process. And if you are interested, we have also published some of the results in different papers and book chapters. So at the end, we go to nowadays, and then we can say that on international level, there is a strongly changing role and aim and function of assessment. So 25 years ago and even earlier, the main focus was realizing efficient testing. Nowadays, it's not a question anymore because we can develop really good tests with good reliability, good validity, objective tests. Now the question raises, how to support students' learning processes through assessment. So the question changed significantly. And we have also learned that the one-size-fits-all approach is not effective. We have also learned that summative test results do not meet the individual needs of the students. So tests needed such type of test which can improve the learning process. So it means we have really to rethink the essence of assessment, why we use assessment, what's the main aim of assessment. We have to think on it. And the more learning-centered, low-stake approach is needed. And in this topic, I would raise the issue of diagnostic assessment, which really for facilitating learning. And if we move in this direction, then we chase high-stake summative tests to low-stake, more efficient, personalized testing and learning. What do we need if we want to realize diagnostic assessment? We need theory, we need frameworks, we need an assessment platforms, and we need tasks based on theory. And of course, item bank running in the assessment platform, which is a scaled item bank. So theory is otherwise needed, even if you use high-stakes tests. If you look around, you can find many books about the framework which is running behind PISA assessment, behind the TEAMS assessment, behind the NAEP assessment in the US. So all of the assessment must have their theoretical background. When does a diagnostic assessment system serve its function? If it's able to identify all important knowledge elements of what students already know and what they still need to learn. And at this point, I would jump to another questions where I could even talk several hours about. So what is the aim of schooling? And this is the three main goals of schooling. So first, to cultivate students' mind, general cognitive abilities and thinking skills. Second, to develop usable, transferable, applicable knowledge. And third, to transmit content knowledge accumulated and organized according to the values of the scientists. And these three main goals must be presented simultaneously at school and not just focusing on disciplinary knowledge or focusing on the application or just developing reasoning skill, because students need all these three. And the best approach is if they are balanced to each other. So they have to reinforce each other. So based on this, Benoit-Chapeau developed a three-dimensional model of knowledge. One dimension focused on the psychological dimension, on the reasoning dimension, one on the application dimension, and one on the content, the disciplinary dimension. And framework books were also developed in this model, in this three-dimensional model of knowledge, and published in the field of reading, mathematics, and science. Okay, and what do we need beyond theory? We also need an assessment platform, which should be learning-centered, which should be easy to use, but containing innovative possibilities, which should contain an item builder model for first, second, and third generation tasks, which should support administering both fixed and adaptive tests, which should be able to administer tests in any device, even mobile phones, tablets, laptops, desktop computers with different softwares. And then they must be able to realize prompt, quick scoring, and which is also very, very important, they need to have a good feedback model with embedded visualization. So we have done it in the University of Szeged, and we developed an assessment platform, which is called EDIA, which can be applied on any devices, which can administer first, second, and third generation ASK, which have visualization and the feedback model where students received game-based feedback and students and teachers received a more detailed number-based, ability level-based feedback supported by cobwebs as visualization items. So briefly about this, what our teacher receives, they receive not just students' ability level, but also reference points, the mean achievement of the class and the mean achievement of those students who are learning in similar schools or who are learning on the same areas of the country or who are learning at the same grade within the whole country. And this cobweb, the red line visualizes the student's achievement, the green the country level mean, and the light blue the classmates. So based on this cobweb, we could, for example, conclude that this student is really highly skilled if we are talking about the disciplinary dimension and its application. But if we are talking about the reasoning dimension, then the students has a great potential in it. It means that if the teacher develop these students' reasoning skills in the field of mathematics, then the students will be significantly better generally in the field of mathematics, because the students are really at the top in disciplinary knowledge and the application, but the development has still potential in this reasoning dimension. They also receive a text-based evaluation about the students. And this is what the students received immediately by the end of the testing, a visualization with piglets and luftballons. Okay, and now we assume that we have a system and good models, but we also need tasks. And in this system, in the EDIA system, we have several thousand tasks based on the theory. And these tasks are empirically scaled and labeled in the item bank. So this several thousand means more than 20,000 tasks. It's more than 100,000 items in the field of mathematics, readings, and science. And now I raise some of the tasks. This is from a famous Hungarian cartoon, and this goes in the field of mathematics, and it's in the reasoning dimension. And other tasks, again, from the field of mathematics. So you can see loudspeaker, it means that students can listen to the instruction. All of the students who are learning in grade 1, 2, 3 can listen to the instruction in the field of mathematics, science, and even in the field of reading, but just to the instruction, not to the text, of course, in the field of reading. This this task visualizes that we doesn't accept just one single answer. In this case, several good answer is possible, and all of the good answers are accepted. So it does not mean that all of the task has just one single right answer. Okay, this is again a task from the field of mathematics, again from one task from the disciplinary dimension. So the tasks are really colorful and they use different item types, and the students can use different ways to indicate their answers within the tasks. The EDA system can be applied through the whole school year. We start in September to first graders who can solve mouse usage and keyboard usage test and school readiness test. In the middle of October, beginning of October, we open this diagnostic system for you, and they can test students' achievement in the field of mathematics, reading, science, and afterwards they can even follow up through the whole year how the students develop in these three main domains and in each domain in the three dimensions of knowledge. And in the spring period, we also offer them assessment, which focuses on student thinking skills, different reasoning skills, and ICT literacy. Through these assessments, we were able to validate this knowledge model, which says that the knowledge can be distinguished and can be splitted in 3 dimensions. And it means that in all of the domains, we need to confirm that the 3-dimensional model fits better than the 1-dimensional model. Yeah, this is in the field of mathematics, and this is an empirically validated model nowadays. And what would I raise, which is very important, because, as I raised already, one aim of the schooling is that students learn such knowledge which can be applied outside of the school. And if you think, what kind of knowledge should I develop by the kids? Should I teach them more disciplinary knowledge, more information? And then if they teach them more information, then they will be more clever outside of the school. Or should I bring this development in balance? And then should I also develop their reasoning skills? Of course, I cannot put both in such a big amounts because I have a limited amount of time at school level. And on this figure, you can see that even students' development in the field of in reasoning skills, so how they able to think, it predicts on a higher level how they be able to apply those knowledge what they have learned at school later on than if I just focus on the disciplinary knowledge. So this type of analysis also confirm that the best school system develops all the 3 dimensions, not just the disciplinary, but also its application and the reasoning dimension too. So at the very end, so to conclude, computer-based assessment is applicable in educational context, and you can see some publication regarding this too. And then what about nowadays? What can you see nowadays? If we take a look on artificial intelligence too, then now we can have fine-grained process-oriented data based on the data collections. We can use intelligence tutors. We can provide formative feedbacks. We can apply the tools of learning analytics, and we can really reconceptualize the research. So we can conclude that educational technologies have brought about developments and challenges in theory, methods, and practice. So it offers extraordinary opportunities. It offers more realistic, application-oriented, engaging, and authentic context. It offers innovative item development opportunities in using interactive media items. It offers more valid assessment, it offers adaptive test algorithms, and it offers and provides instant, objective, and standardized feedback. So, and this is an area where technology-based assessment and game-based learning are converging. And let's see technology-based assessment and the future. Nowadays, if we take a look on the recent developments, many raise the issue why not applying artificial intelligence in the field of assessment. Yeah, it's a good approach. We also do it, for example, by analyzing process data. But at this point, I guess the responsibility of research institutes are really high, because if teachers start to just use some artificial intelligence to generate poor and misaligned assessment, then it can negatively affect students' learning. So it means that quality data are really needed were the only valid source for improvement and advancement. At this point, there is also danger in when we apply artificial intelligence for automated item generation without any lecturing and proofreading these items. And then finally, please do not forget learning theories, which says the cognitive theory of multimedia learning is based on the idea that people have separate channels for processing verbal and visual materials, and only a limited amount of processing can occur in any channel at one time. Relevant information, motivational theories include interest theory, which holds up that people try harder to learn when they are interested. And an expectancy value theory, which holds that people try harder to learn when they value what they are learning. And self-efficacy theory, which holds that people try harder to learn when they feel confident about their competence to learn the material. And finally, self-determination theory, which holds that people try harder to learn in situations where they feel competent, autonomous, and related to others. So the challenge is to identify evidence-based and theory-grounded principles for how best to adapt the affordances of technology to help people learn. So the key takeaways: there was a really long but rapid development in the last 25 years. We moved from efficient testing to personalized learning, from high-stakes testing to low-stake diagnostic testing, from fixed testing to adaptive personalized testing. And please do not forget learning theories, even in the time of artificial intelligence. And so thank you for your really kind attention.
Dear Professor, many thanks you for your very interesting presentation. If you don't mind, I have a question for you. Dear Professor, it is clear that the transformation and digitalization of educational technologies ensures the accessibility of education. What do you think? Does it also ensure the improvement of the quality of education? What do you think? Globalization and digitalization ensure the improvement quality of education?
You mean whether technology? Yes, it has the potential, but not the technology itself. You know, it's just a tool which can be used for really good purposes. But as I try to highlight by the very end of the presentation, if you forget learning theories, if the technology is used just for using technology and we skip the methodology part, then we lose a lot. And even we harm the whole system. So I think it's just a good tool. Technology won't solve the problems of education. It just provides us a tool which can be used for good purposes. But then we need the methodology behind the developments and how to use technology. You know, we had this black board in the classrooms 25 years or even 10 years ago. Now we have interactive whiteboard in the classroom. And then you can even use frontal teaching. In both cases, you can use the same way, even it's a blackboard or interactive whiteboard, and you haven't changed anything, just the two. And the quality of the education is the same. So if you are not able to change the way how to teach the students, and then using the advantage of this technology provide for both the teachers and students, then we haven't done anything. And by the way, the teachers nowadays are facing with significantly more challenges than the teachers faced 20 years ago. So if you just think on the fact that students are raising up with this, and then with TikTok, and then with YouTube, and then with the advertisement. And so
Artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, and other new
yeah,
high tools
so
of educational
it's really challenging for the
technologies.
yeah, and this is the reason why the teachers need to change, because if they are still in this role that they are the king of the knowledge and the teacher knows everything, then they can lose quite quickly their prestige, because there is ChatGPT, there is Google, there are these technologies. So somehow teachers should revise themselves and to become a facilitator and to focus on different issues. They had to teach how to learn, how to critically evaluate all the information students face on Google or receive answers from ChatGPT, which are in many cases not valid answers, because ChatGPT doesn't monitor the reality and the validity of what answers. It's a language model, and its task is communication and not the proper answering of your question. So we have to teach new things to the students, and we have
What do you think? New technologies make people lazy, make students lazy, new technology. For example, the students write their article or dissertation from ChatGPT and other new tools.
I wouldn't say lazy. Teachers had to revise their task. I would say it's not a task anymore. Write essay about this, because students can quite easily ask ChatGPT, but you can give a different task. Let's ask ChatGPT. Let's write an essay with the ChatGPT, or let's do it yourself and then compare both. Or let's ask ChatGPT and then this way and this way, because it strongly depends on the prompting, and we have to teach students how to prompt, how to provide good prompts for ChatGPT that they receive higher quality answers, because we cannot skip this. They have them at home. If we say that you cannot use at school, okay, but if they go home, they can use it. And it means that we have to teach how to use these tools more efficiently. And by the very end, we can even ask them to prepare more complex tasks through this, because many steps can be jumped through the application of artificial intelligence. ChatGPT is just one out of the many already existing in the world.
Thank you very much. Thank you, dear Könül.
Yes, thank you very much, Professor, for your very highly interesting presentation. I appreciate it a lot. I have a small question, a bit of question. I mean, in reading domain, I think assessment is not so hard. I mean, in terms of computer-based assessment, but in mathematics, when the students need to draft some solvation of the mathematical problems. What do you think? Is it set a challenge in front of the mathematic domain assessment? I mean, because students need to evaluate, how to evaluate, to draft something in the paper. What do you think?
So the answer is the same. So we have to teach students how to use ChatGPT or other artificial intelligence program really efficiently. And then afterwards, they have to find with the issue how to use it. And even, this is the field mathematics, where you can raise tasks for ChatGPT where it fails, because as I told already, it's a language generating program. So it's works based on tokens and then probabilities, and its task is communication. And it's not Google, it works quite differently. But then if students learn which are the areas where then can use ChatGPT. The problem is that if you take a look at the statistics, then in many cases students even ask ChatGPT, what should I think about? When their friends ask them about something and then they ask ChatGPT, what should I think about? And that's where the problem starts. If students doesn't have their own ideas, but they also want to have their own ideas or thoughts from ChatGPT or from such kind of artificial intelligence platform. So that's the problem. And I think that's why we have to integrate it into school. And I don't know whether you've heard in China, it's already part of the curriculum, and students have to learn at least 8 hours in a year. These platforms and prompting, and even many educational systems launched prompting and then using artificial intelligence at school.
Yeah.
But it's very important that we don't forget learning theories. We don't forget the importance of basic skills, because without reading, without writing and thinking, we cannot really use artificial intelligence. And then it also increases the gaps between low achievers and high achievers.
Yeah.
So we should this.
Thank you very much. If I have questions, please give. I mean, if someone has questions, please. Again, thank you very much for this highly interesting presentation, because even you know that I'm also a researcher, but yeah, I every time I also read some article, but it's very insightful when you have this how the long insightful presentation, when everything in one place. So you have something in idea. Even I have some ideas for the future research. So thank you very much, Jointure, for your again this presentation. I appreciate it a lot. So if nobody has questions, we can finish our seminar.
I have a question. Sorry. Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be here and to invite everyone, especially Professor Güngör. My question is, thank you very much for your very happy to attend it. But my question is that the frequency of the instruments, for example, you showed us 3 generations, so and then the different instruments in each generations. But my question is, how often do we have to change the frequency of the instrument? Because you know that every day we have the innovation technologies and it's changing every day. So how often? I mean, like, do we have to use the same instruments in the same generations, or maybe do we have to change it, for example, once in a year, maybe, or maybe we should pay attention to the results? Thank you.
Question can have several meanings. If we are talking about education, I think the most important part of an educational system or a human development is a kindergarten and lower elementary, because these are the period where kids can take part in a systematic development, so in kindergarten or school learning. And this is where you build the basics for everything. whether the kids will be interested in learning, whether they will be able to learn, they will be motivated, what kind of attitudes they will have towards schooling, about how many words they can read and they can apply in every day, about their reading skills and so on. So these are the most important part of the training. And then I don't think this is the period where we should change our training methods significantly. So this is why I've highlighted that in this really rapidly, quickly bird, we shouldn't forget the messages and the main models of learning theories and what's important. What are the basic skills? This reading, learning, counting, thinking, these are the most important things. And I think we have to teach our kids in this regard. And then later on, of course, we can bring all the other issues into education. But that at that level, I wouldn't say we must change the test. We should use the possibilities what the latest technology offers for us. And if we use this in a methodology well-built way, that we are on the right way. But I can even see many applications where technology is there because it's technology, but the methods hasn't changed, and it's a bad approach. I think we should significantly change the methodology too, and fit the methods to the kids, to the new generation. And then technology is just a tool. It's just a tool. Technology won't change the quality of the education system by itself. Just we are able to change the quality through the different methodological approach we apply at the school level.
Well,
And
thank you very much.
It's valid for testing.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much,
Professor.
Professor. I have one small question, and this is my the end question. So, what do you believe that we have two achievement students, or we have students who are not in the middle, but they have, for example, always we have saying that either students are achievers or non-achievers. So they are classified into terms. I mean, achievers and non-achievers, successes or non-successes. But we also know that we have guessers, we have sleepers. Do you share this belief that we have a guessers or sleepers? We haven't. I mean, maybe I make a mistake saying sleepers but guessers. But do you believe that we haven't? Only achievers or non-achievers, but we have students who are in the middle, but we haven't the names for that. But because I always read the literature saying that achievers or non-achievers. So this is an interesting question to me.
No, I think everyone is different. And
Yeah.
I would also raise this example about highly skilled problem exploration, the group of students who are really highly skilled in this field or lower skilled. Then, because I wanted to give an example that if we base our evaluation just of the raw scores of the students' answers, then we can fail. This was just an example. If we monitor their behavior, then even in this test, these rapid learners, so we had two groups, the group of rapid learners and those students whose achievement was high on the easy problems and low on the hardest problem. And if we just focus on the raw scores, then these two groups land in the same group and middle achievers. However, this group contains two different types of students. And even though the final achievement of these students differ significantly. So it was just my message that we can use technology-based assessment to go beyond the raw
Yeah.
scores, even to see the behavior of the students during the testing process. You can even receive information whether students are unmotivated and they just click through the test, and the achievement is low because the students are completely unmotivated and finish the test within 3 seconds by click. Or they may thought about the time and they really gave the time. So we should use the information technology-based assessment can provide us beyond the actual course. So that was just why I raised this issue.
Thank you very much, dear professor. So yeah, definitely.
Könül, I think we can, yes,
Yeah.
finish
So
our seminar.
yeah, thank you very much for everyone who participated in the seminar. Especially thank you very much again for dear professor to provide for providing this insightful experience. It's very, very interesting to note. Of course, technology is our future. It opens this research area. The technology-based assessment opens a new assessment areas to us. So thank you very much for everyone who participating in here, and we need to finish this seminar. And you know that we have a collaboration with University of Szeged and Umeå University in Sweden and Szeged University in Hungary has a collaboration in terms of ADS system. So in the future, I think that we can share also this study. Thank you very much again. Have a nice day.
Dear Professor, I would like to express my deep gratitude to you for accepting our invitation and participating in our today's seminar. We would be pleased to see you at UNIC, at our university. It was a pleasure to meet you, and many thanks to all our participants. We can, yes, finish our seminar, yes? Okay, have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice day.
See you
Thank you very
soon.
much.
Bye-bye.
Professor.
Bye-bye from
Bye-bye.
China.
Thank you very
Thank
our
you.
professor,
Uh-huh.
Şafa Melim, Aygül, very thanks, many thanks.
Thank you for
all
your
our
invitation.
participants.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye. Have a
Bye,
nice
bye,
day.
bye.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. Bye.